All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the almost invisible science behind the materials that literally power our modern world, rare earth elements. We're going to get into why pulling them apart is one of the biggest chemical challenges out there and explore the incredible new ways scientists are finally cracking the code. So, let's just kick things off with a question that really gets to the heart of why this stuff matters to every single one of us. What in the world could possibly connect the phone in your hand to a giant wind turbine out in a field? While the answer is a group of 17 metals called rare earth elements, or REEs for short. And honestly, they're the secret sauce in just about all of our high-tech gear. We're talking the super strong magnets in electric cars and wind turbines, the bright, vibrant colors on your laptop screen, and even the precision of things like MRI machines and defense systems. They are, quite literally, everywhere. But here's the catch. There's this huge challenge that comes with these elements. And their name, rare earths, well, it doesn't even begin to capture the real problem. In fact, it's totally misleading.
Okay, so this right here busts the biggest myth about these materials. The problem isn't that they're rare. Heck, some of them are more common in the Earth's crust than copper or lead. No, the real challenge, the real headache, is that they're inseparable. They're always found jumbled together in mineral deposits, and chemically, they behave almost exactly alike. It's like trying to find one specific identical twin in a massive crowd of other identical twins.
So, how on earth do we solve a puzzle like that? Well, for decades, the industry standard has been a process called solvent extraction. But, as you're about to see, this old workhorse is getting some seriously impressive scientific upgrades.
At its core, you can think of solvent extraction as a kind of chemical fishing trip. First, you dissolve all your mixed-up rare earths in a watery solution. Then, you add a second, oily liquid that won't mix, like oil and vinegar. Inside that oily liquid is a special molecule, an extractant, that's designed to grab on to just one type of rare earth. You shake it all up, the extractant snags its target and pulls it over into the oily layer. Then you just repeat that, hundreds and hundreds of times.
But this process has a major flaw. Very often, you get this thick, nasty, gunky third layer that forms right between the other two liquids. Research from scientists like Rodriguez Varela and their team has shown this gunk, which has the technical name third phase formation, it just clogs up all the equipment, slows everything down, and makes the whole process way less efficient. It really gums up the works. So to fix that gunk problem, and to make the whole process a lot cleaner, researchers are coming up with these incredible new tools called task-specific ionic liquids, or TSILs. You can basically think of them as designer liquids. They are engineered at a molecular level to be amazing at grabbing one specific metal, and, big bonus, they usually have a much better environmental profile than the old-school chemicals.
And their potential is just wow. A 2023 study by Ciudani and his colleagues used one of these ionic liquids to help minerals stick to air bubbles so they could be skimmed off the top. Get this, they were able to create a concentrate with over 43% rare earth oxide content, all from a really low-grade starting material. That is a massive improvement, and it shows these new liquids could totally change the game right from the very first step.
But, improving the solvents is just one angle. Other scientists are asking a totally different question. What if we could bring electricity into the mix for even more precise control? And that question leads us to the super cool field of electrochemical separation. As researchers like McDonald and their team have detailed, this approach uses an electric field to act like a bouncer at a club. By applying just the right voltage, you can convince only one specific type of ion to cross a boundary, leaving all the others behind. It's just an incredible level of precision.
But there's no free lunch in chemistry. As modeling from Ding and Azimi shows, it's a constant balancing act. Sure, you can crank up the voltage to separate things faster, but you're going to pay for it with lower energy efficiency. The real trick, the secret to making this work on a huge scale, is finding that perfect sweet spot between speed and sustainability.
Now let's look at another totally innovative idea that works less like a chemical reaction and more like a microscopic high-tech filter. I like to call it the smart sponge strategy. Seriously, just picture a sponge. But instead of soaking up water, this material is designed so precisely that its tiny little pores have the exact right shape and the perfect chemical coating to trap just one type of rare earth element, while all the others just flow right on by. That is the goal here.
And scientists, like those reviewed by Peng and their colleagues, are building a whole arsenal of these materials. They're working with everything from porous carbon and silicon to complex organic polymers and these really wild structures called metal organic frameworks, or MOFs.
And the cool thing is, they can all be fine-tuned for that perfect selective capture.
But what's truly amazing, after all that talk about high-tech lab-made materials, is that the best solution might not be synthetic at all. The answer might actually be biological.
You heard that right. We're talking about bacteria. A 2023 study by Marekos and their team discovered that common cyanobacteria, you might know it as blue-green algae, are naturally fantastic at latching onto rare earth elements. The surface of their cells has these groups that act like perfect little molecular hands, making them a surprisingly effective and sustainable biomaterial for pulling out REEs.
So, once an element is mostly separated, there's one last challenge: getting it to the ultra-high purity that modern electronics demand. And for this final polishing step, scientists are turning to one of the oldest and, frankly, most elegant tricks in the chemistry playbook: crystallization.
The principle here is just, it's beautiful. Pure substances naturally want to form really stable, well-ordered crystals. So by carefully tweaking things like temperature and concentration, you can coax just one rare earth to form these perfect, pure crystals. And as they grow, they literally squeeze out all the other unwanted stuff, leaving the impurities behind in the liquid.
And this technique works incredibly well. For example, a recent study by Clemenon's group used it to recover over 96% of the valuable rare earths from dissolved high-power magnets. That's a huge deal for recycling.
And of course, we're bringing this ancient technique into the 21st century. Researchers like Tan and their team are now using AI and high-speed cameras to watch these crystals grow in real time. This lets them control the conditions with insane precision, making sure they grow the biggest, purest crystals that are also the easiest to separate. So, we've looked at smarter solvents, electric fields, advanced filters, even bacteria and AI-powered crystals. After all that, what does it all add up to? What does this mean for the future of our technology and for the green energy transition?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway here is that there's no single magic bullet. Different ores, different recycling streams, different elements, they all present their own unique chemical puzzle. So the future isn't about finding one perfect solution. It's about building this incredible, diverse toolkit of smarter, cleaner, and more efficient techniques that we can mix and match to solve each specific challenge as it comes.
And this rapidly evolving science really leaves us with a critical, and I think a very hopeful question. As all these innovative methods get better and start to scale up, can we finally build a supply chain for these vital elements that's not only independent and secure, but also truly sustainable? The science seems to be saying, yeah, it's finally within our reach.